Hello all, and yes, it's been a while. I was planning on doing this last weekend, and then being in Oklahoma City, and being that we had tornadoes last weekend, didn't really happen. And then just other things got in the way because of that, so I'm fine. My apartment's fine. Everything's fine. But I had planned on doing this long video that I'm going to do now. Just because maybe more people would watch it because of Extreme Rules, and I could talk about some things I wanted to talk about and get the most, views necessary, whatever. Anyways, none of you care about that. So, this isn't going to be a lot of reviews per se over what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about Border Wars, I'm going to talk about the last New Japan iPPV, talk about Extreme Rules, and some other things. And yes, there will be some Triple H hate on here, but we will save that for the end. Let's start with the first thing I want to talk about, and that is the Kenta Kobashi retirement match. I might see if I can find it, add it to the description. I'm sure most of the people who watch this have probably already seen it, or probably have already heard about it, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit. Well, let me start with this. Larry Zonka at 411 Mania, I guess the week before this, or last week, sometime soon, he did a article talking about his top 10 matches from the 80s. And in that list, if you've ever been to the site where they allow comments and that sort of thing, there's always people upset because there's Japanese stuff in the ratings, or they talk about it, whatever. And he included one match, which you would probably have to include in the 80s, which would be Tiger Mask vs. Dynamite Kid. And I jokingly was on Twitter, and I jokingly said, so how many matches? He said, I just included one. Me personally, I would have definitely included 2 from Japan, maybe 3 from the 80s, but that doesn't matter. So we started kind of talking, and I kind of jokingly told him, I said, if you do one for the 90s, it's going to really tick people off, because not only will they probably all be from Japan. If you did a top 10 matches of the 90s, the only U.S. match you should include is Austin versus Bret Hart. And that's it. And I love that match. That's probably my favorite WWE match of all time. And I don't think I would include it on a list like that. You could actually make the argument that a list of top 10 matches from the 90s actually should only include one company, and that's All Japan. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Kenta Kobashi and Mr. Kobashi, and the fact that he had his retirement match. It was an 8-man match. It was great. I would recommend finding it if you've not seen it. I would definitely finding the video that actually shows the whole celebration after the match, which is pretty cool, even if you can't understand Japanese. Like myself, it was pretty emotional. The fact that they started chanting Masawa during that was kind of, that was kind of hard to watch, not going to lie. But, here is probably one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, probably maybe the greatest wrestler of modern time, you could argue. Seeing him finish his career in a match that, this wasn't like the Ric Flair Shawn Michaels match where you had a lot more drama to it. There was a story being told, all of that sort of stuff. Didn't have that. This was much more of a celebration. He hit all his moves. Him and Muda both hit moonsaults. It was just like a best of cool celebration match. It was great. I would recommend going and seeing it. Trademark, who was all pissy because this was going to be an 8-man. I fucking told you so. I know I told you that on Twitter, but I'm going to tell you now. I fucking told you so. So there you go. So, go watch it. Like I said, I'll try to include it in the description. I don't know if I will or not. We'll see if I remember by the time I get to it. So, there we go. But, now, rewind. Let's talk about Border Wars a little bit. Not going to do a full review of Border Wars. Those of you that care about Border Wars, or Ring of Honor's Border War iPPV, I've probably already seen reviews. We've probably already seen the stuff. I thought it was good. but just good. I thought it was a little underwhelming. Them not having Marufuji there definitely hurt. As the Davey Richards-Paul London match was good, but it wasn't as great as probably the Marufuji match would have been, so that kind of sucked. And why I love Jay Briscoe and why I love the fact that Jay Briscoe, I love the moment when Jay Briscoe won the title. That was an awesome moment for WrestleMania weekend. Him as a main eventer just really doesn't work. I know Ring of Honor doesn't like to hot potato their titles, but this would have been a chance to do that, and they didn't do it. So there you go. Everything else on the card was okay to good. There was nothing outstanding on it, unfortunately, but it was a good show. It was a fun show to watch, I would say. Like I said, just Jay Briscoe. They need to get the title off of him, and that does not mean put the title on Matt Hardy. Michael Elgin needs the title. They need to put the title on Michael Elgin. He is a guy that I think they finally have a guy where, not that Kevin Steen isn't that guy, but I think that in more people's eyes, you can sell Michael Elgin Michael Elgin as, here's our guy, here's our champion. Our champion is better than their champion. And when you're the number 3 promotion in particular, even if you're the number 2 promotion in particular, I definitely think you have to be able to do that with your champion. And when you can't do that with your champion, that's not so good. So there you go. Then we had a show that if you follow me on Twitter, you probably saw me going crazy about. And I was very, very disappointed. I shouldn't say disappointed. I was underwhelmed with the show, and that was the last New Japan iPay-per-view. And this was a very good show, and I would call it disappointing. That's how good New Japan has been. There was nothing, I would say, there was some bad stuff on here, but I think even the bad stuff had a point and was entertaining. But the problem is that, with the lineup, it looked like we were going to get awesome stuff, and that's not what we got. And also the booking was a little, to be honest. For example, I'm okay with Romero and Kozlov winning the junior tag team titles back. I don't think it was the best idea. I think that they definitely need to ump up the juniors a little bit. Because they don't have a really deep roster. I think they need a deeper roster there. That and the tag division is really the only real problems I would say New Japan has. Even though the tag match was fun, but they took them off of Killer Elite Squad, Archer and Davey Boy Smith Jr. And that was a mistake in my opinion. I'm sure they're going to do more of a let them chase type thing, but to me that's redundant. So there you go. But, that was the undercard, and it was okay. After the intermission, everything got much better. I was really looking forward to the Goto Shibata match, but the end of that match, which ended in a double knockout, basically, was very kind of like, it's still good, but man, I wish that had ended. I understand that they're undoubtedly doing it so they can do a series of matches, and that's fine, and that's wonderful. But eventually, Shibata has to take on Okada, or he has to take on Tanahashi at some point. To me, Shibata and Tanahashi at the Tokyo Dome show at Wrestle Kingdom, that would be awesome at the end of the year. I don't know if they would do that. I would hope they would do that. He is so freaking over, and everybody's so much into this stuff. But you had the Tanahashi and Carl Anderson rematch, which didn't have as much time. It was still really good, but it wasn't nearly what the first match was. Nakamura and Shelton Benjamin was really good and was probably one of the better Shelton Benjamin singles matches he's had in forever, even back when he was in WWE. And unfortunately, it was Nakamura that he had a little bit of botch, which but that was good. Main event was great. It wasn't as great as I would have hoped, but it was overall. I mean, this was a really good iPay-per-view, and I still think it was kind of lackluster. So, and then of course we're going to get Okada versus Maccabi at the next iPay-per-view. I'm not looking forward to that. I'm just not a Maccabi guy. Just not. Anyways, so then we get to Extreme Rules, and Extreme Rules was good. I would say. Not great. Definitely, you know, the undercard guys didn't get enough time to really do anything. Even the Shield match really didn't get enough time, which is kind of odd because the next time on Raw they gave them lots of time, and had probably a better match than anything on this show. Probably most of the stuff that was on WrestleMania. You know, I mean, it was that good. It was that tag match on Raw was fucking awesome. I love that match. And for all of you that hate indie wrestling, guess what? Guess what that match was? That match was indie wrestling 100%. Sorry, it was. Anyways, so you know that kind of what could have been a really good undercard. It kind of, because they shortchanged everybody, didn't make it so great. Randy Orton versus Big Show was pretty good, I would say. Better than probably I would have thought. John Cena versus Ryback was on its way to being something somewhat really good, and then they did a fuck finish and a really fuck finish. They should have just given the title to Ryback. And to me, and if you follow me on Twitter, you probably heard me bitching about the fact that Triple H match went on last. And people were like, oh, but you know, the finish that they did, I understand. This is what they should have done. You have John Cena go through the wall. You have him, you know, be carted off, the whole thing. You give the title to Ryback. You end it. And wait, next night on Raw, people turn in as what happened to John Cena. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That's what they should have done. Triple H and Brock Lesnar going on last was definitely lackluster. It was the best match on the card, and was definitely the best match of the 3 matches they've had, though that's not saying much. I have not liked most of the matches they've had. I still wouldn't call it great. Hopefully that is the end of this, and if, you know, I don't understand why we needed 3 matches, still don't get why we needed it in 3 matches, but that's what we got. Then, the next night on Raw, we had Paul Heyman's announcement for his next Paul Heyman guy. And of course, it was Mr. Perfect Son. And he walks out. And Kurt Axel. And he walks, or Curtis Axel, whatever his name is. He walks out, he's doing his thing. Triple H walks out, pretty much disses him right away. Which I was like, ugh, man, don't be doing that to a guy right away. And this is a guy that supposedly Triple H likes, okay, and thinks is going to be somebody. So finally, as the interview goes on, he gets in Triple H's face. I'm like, yes, this is good. This is a good thing. But then Triple H slaps him. The guy falls. He looks like a geek. You can't do shit like that. You can't. When you have a chance to give a guy a rub, you give the guy the rub. Triple H should have slapped him, and he should have slapped Triple H right back. That's what should have happened. This is the problem with Triple H. People think that I hate on Triple H just to hate on him. Let me tell you something. In the ring, the guy is great. The guy is, without a doubt, the guy knows what he's doing. You know, the stuff Bret Hart said was pretty crappy in my opinion. I don't agree with. The guy knows what he's doing in the ring. The guy gets it. It's definitely so obvious the guy gets it. But then he pulls shit like this all the time. You go back, you know, you go all the way. You go back from the time that he came back from that quad injury. You go through, you know, the WCW guys coming in. You go through all of that bullshit. You know, him, you know, burying or attempting to bury Goldberg. You know, the fact that, you know, every guy that started to get hot, he go, oh, I don't think that guy has it. Supposedly, the fact that every time that, you know, he would get in a program with a guy and a guy could get made just by being in the program with him, he always made the guys look like geeks. And if you make a guy look like geeks, it doesn't matter if he's in the ring with you. The fans are going to see them as geeks. That's my problem. My problem has nothing to do with him in the ring. My problem has to do with shit like that. Because when you look at the WWE and you ask yourself, okay, why don't they have stars? Why haven't they been able to build stars? It is shit like that. That is exactly what it is. They have no concept of how to build guys. Yet here they have the Shield and they have Ryback. So they know how to do it. They just never want to do it. And with a guy like Ryback, they have a guy who, you know, they should run with, just to see if they could run with him. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You can take the title off of him real quick. And they won't even do that because they're so, I don't know. I don't get it. I never have. But that was pretty telling on Raw. But anyways, that's pretty much, I think it's everything I wanted to talk about right there. So, I don't know how long this has been. Hopefully not too long. Doesn't look like, about 15 minutes. Not too long. So I kind of skipped through everything pretty quick. But that's okay. But anyways, with that, I am out. Have a good one, and later.